What's up, everyone? Welcome into Fantasy Football Office Hours presented by Front Yard Fantasy. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always by my co-host, Josh. What's up, Josh?
I'm here. Let's go. I'm ready to answer some questions. I'm ready to have a good time. I'm feeling good today.
It's been like a solid 10 minutes since we've seen each other, but we're back.
Way too long.
Got the poop out. Our minds are clear, and we are good to answer some questions.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, your poop's still in there? So take Josh's answers with a grain of salt. His brain is still clouded by the poop he didn't take. Justin is back. I'm sorry, guys. I'm on.
I thought I had a response. I just didn't.
Justin, welcome back in. And Justin's got some questions for us to start the show off. Do I pick up Sterling Shepard? He will be my wide receiver 5. Or should I pick up Deonta Foreman? He will be my RB4. I'm picking up Foreman, and it's positional scarcity. I think you're more likely to find a fill-in for Sterling Shepard any given week off the waiver wire. You can pick up a guy. There's always ones that come to the top of the list each week that you can start if you need to. Deonta Foreman is the back to roster in Tennessee right now, so I would go that way. What about you, Josh?
You're absolutely correct. You broke it down well. I would be picking up Foreman. Not to say that Foreman's going to get more fantasy points than Sterling Shepard the rest of the season, but if everything goes the way we can envision it going for the Tennessee Titans, if they make him the lead back, man, he could win you a league. So the upsides there with Deontay Foreman. And again, how many wide receivers, how many running backs are you starting? If you're starting only 2 wide receivers and then you got 2 other wide receivers on your bench that are above Sterling Shepard, there's really no need to have Sterling Shepard on your team at this point in my mind.
Yep. Justin has another question for us. Tua or Tannehill for this week? So we've got Tua going up against the New York Jets and Tannehill going up against the Houston Texans. Josh, which one of those players would you be starting?
It would be Tannehill. Tua does have a little bit more upside in my mind. The New York Jets have been good against fantasy quarterbacks so far this season. I don't think that's necessarily because they have a good pass defense. It's just that quarterbacks don't need to throw at the end of the games. It's not usually very competitive, and they're just running out the clock. So having said that, I would start Ryan Tannehill, but it's closer than a lot of people might realize.
Yeah, I'm with you, Josh. I'm going Tannehill here. And I think you're talking about the Jets defense and how they're perceived. I think there's also a perception issue with the Dolphins defense right now. I think they're much better than a lot of people are giving them credit for. They're going to be able to shut down the Jets. I don't envision this being too close. And like you said, that gives the edge to Tannehill. I don't think Tua is going to have to do much in this game. And Justin wants to know, when do you think Aaron Jones gets the O symbol? Next time they update who has the O symbol, he's out for the next 1 to 2 weeks for sure.
Oh,
definitely this week.
Oh yeah, there's no way in hell he's playing this week, and he's not playing until after their bye, which is in 2 weeks. So there's 2 more games. They have a bye. Then I expect Aaron Jones to come back. I hope he does.
Yep. Carlos wants to know, what running back should I add from waivers with the best rest of season value? I've got 2 answers here. Just the rest of season value straight up is probably Deonta Foreman. He's the one with the clearest shot this week of the guys on waiver wire to a starting role the rest of the season. Now, who's got the highest upside rest of season? Josh, you said it on the last show whenever we were talking about Rhamondre Stevenson. Rhamondre Stevenson has the upside. If he takes over in that New England backfield, which I don't predict, I'm not projecting that, but there's a world where it happens. He's an every week starter. So Deonta Foreman, safer pickup, I think. Rhamondre Stevenson got some real upside. What do you think here, Josh?
You summed it up perfectly. Rhamondre Stevenson has the most upside. He has league-winning upside if everything goes well. I'll throw out AJ Dillon's name as well, just in case. I know he's on rosters in most leagues, but if he's available, that's the guy you have to go after. He's the number 1 waiver priority, 100%.
Oh, full agree on that one, because even when Aaron Jones comes back, AJ Dillon is startable, like a flex-worthy option week in, week out.
I do want to just throw out that there's a couple running backs that are backup running backs currently. Some have their own standalone value, but there's a couple running backs that I would put ahead of both these guys, like Alexander Madison, Tony Pollard. There's a few guys that fall into this category of just very valuable backup, and that actually could be the answer here. But that's not really a waiver wire target specifically for this week.
Yeah, I love that, Josh. This is the time of year, I think, where if you've got the room on your bench, it makes sense to start stockpiling some of these high upside backups, the ones that are 1 injury away from taking a starting role, because going into the playoffs, you'll be much happier if you grabbed them a week or 2 early instead of waiting till the injury happens and you're in a bidding war on the waiver wire. Justin wants to know, what is the status on Cpat and Damian Harris? So I believe Damian Harris practiced today, expected to play this weekend. Josh, do we have any update on Patterson?
I don't think we have an official update, but I believe that the odds of him playing this week are low. They play on Thursday night. I could easily see this being a 1 week thing where he misses Thursday, he gets the long week of rest, and he's back the following week. But again, we don't have an official update on it. I believe it's an ankle sprain for Cordell Patterson. So it really depends what kind of ankle sprain this is. If it's a low ankle sprain, that's good news. High ankle sprain, that's bad news. We got to wait and see here. But I do believe Damian Harris is going to play this week.
Yep. What's up, Unruly Drip? Welcome in. And he's got a question for us. Currently 5-5. I was offered Deontay Swift and Deontay Johnson. So DeAndre Swift and Deontay Johnson for Christian McCaffrey. Should I accept? His running backs are Mixon, Henderson, CEH. So I'm guessing that's without CMC. Add CMC in there. CMC, Mixon, Henderson, and CEH. Wide receivers are AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson, Amari Cooper, and T. Higgins. Wow, that team is looking good. I know AJ Brown's been disappointing for you, but I don't think I'm doing this trade. I think CMC is far enough ahead, and I like your wide receivers enough that I am not making this trade. The value makes sense, I think, but man, I don't think this is a big enough upgrade at wide receiver for you to take the downgrade at running back. What do you think, Josh?
I hate this because your team's so loaded that you don't want to downgrade your starting lineup, and Deontay Johnson would be part of your starting lineup. In my mind, he falls in right behind AJ Brown and Justin Jefferson for your wide receivers. So he is in your starting lineup. If I knew this was a PPR league, it helps the Swift and Deontay Johnson side of things. Yeah, so the value is more than there. Like, it's more than there for me.
Would you rather take the rest of this team out of it? If you were just given 2 for 2, would you rather start CMC and Amari Cooper or DeAndre Swift and Deontay Johnson?
CMC and Amari Cooper.
CMC and Amari Cooper. That's where I land on this one too. I agree the value's on the other side, but your roster makes this trade hard to make on Unruly Drip.
So yeah, that I almost wish you didn't give me the roster, but I'm glad you did. I would have said this is a accept if you didn't give me the roster, but it just looks like it's not going to improve your starting lineup. So I hate saying it, but the value is there. It's a good trade, but yeah, man.
Thanks for the context on this one, because it completely changes my opinion on it. I think it's not like I would rather the roster you have now than what you would have if you made the trade. It's a tough one. That's a tough
trading
one.
Makes fantasy fun. Do the trade. I would do the
trade. Justin says, if CEH is back, what is the split in Kansas City? I have no clue. I'll assume 50-50 until shown otherwise. That's how I'm viewing it.
We talked about this a little bit on the last stream. My how I envision it happening is CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire falls right into the first and second down role. So the primary running back where he gets the most carries for this backfield. But again, Darrell Williams is going to get more catches, and he was the goal line back even when CEH was healthy. So the valuable touches are going to Darrell Williams while CEH gets more touches. Yeah, it's going to be about 50-50 in terms of fantasy value. It's a messy situation.
Yep. Before we get into our next question, I want to remind everyone watching, if we're here helping you at all, you're enjoying our content, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Front Yard Fantasy. It means a ton to us, and it's the best way to make sure you never miss another one of our shows. JR, I look forward to your Guillotine League questions. So for those who do not know, a Guillotine League means the bottom team gets eliminated every week until there's one team left standing at the end of the season. And how JR's Guillotine League works is every week there's a 1-round draft for the players that were on the team that got eliminated. And so they all get one pick. He wants to know, do I pick Kamara or Terry McLaurin? Don't think I'm desperate for a starter this week. I'm deeper at wide receiver than running back. You answered it yourself, JR.
Yes, you did. It's Kamara regardless if you're desperate for a wide receiver or not. Desperate for a running back or wide receiver, Kamara just has a lot more value than
I honestly think even if you had like CMC, Joe Mixon, Darrell Henderson, DeAndre Swift, I might even still say Alvin Kamara because of the value.
Well, here's the factor. It's a guillotine league. So when it comes down to it, if he did need a starter, we don't know if Kamara is going to play this upcoming weekend. If you did need someone to throw in your flex, for example, maybe Terry McLaurin could be the answer. But yeah, you answered. It's Kamara.
It's Kamara here. Carlos wants to know flex Connor or Dillon. I'm going Dillon here. Josh, what about you?
They are super duper close. Super duper close. Yeah, I lean AJ Dillon.
I think Connor's safer just because we know what to expect from him, but I like the upside for Dillon, and I think their floors are similar. But I do think Connor's the slightly safer option.
Yeah.
MVP wants to know, with Patterson out, how valuable is Gallman? So, Josh, how are you valuing Gallman this week if Patterson is out?
So if Patterson's out, how do I value Gallman? I don't want to start him. I think there's a chance that Mike Davis gets the lead role and the majority of carries for this team going forward. Now, Gallman could inherit that Cordell Patterson role more or less, and he could be the pass catching back. But again, if I had to choose a guy to start for the Falcons going into next week if Patterson's out, it's actually Mike Davis, and that might surprise some people.
I'm on the fence. We saw the 15 carries from Gallman, but it was a super weird game script. It was a really, really odd game script where Gallman got involved. So I'm trying not to read too much into it. But watching him get those carries combined with my preseason belief that he was the best runner on this offense leads me to believe I think he probably will get more carries than Mike Davis this week. So I'm disagreeing with you a little bit there. I don't know if that even puts him. I don't know where that puts him. I'm still not very excited, even if he's the lead back for Atlanta. He's an emergency start kind of player for me if Patterson is out, and a complete bench if Patterson plays.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Javen said, I'm 10-0, full PPR, looking to make playoff moves at the wide receiver. I have Dak, CMC, Eckler, Mixon, CD, Terry, Bateman, and Pitts. Well, you're loaded. That's a really great team there you've got there, Javen. But I understand what you're saying. You could upgrade that wide receiver 3. I think, Josh, without seeing the bench, is there any wide receivers you would be targeting or any players you'd be looking to move from this roster?
No, I mean, if you're starting 2 wide receivers, you're locked and loaded with CD Lamb and Terry McLaurin. I wouldn't be too worried. Now, if you're starting 3 wide receivers, that's where it gets a little bit tricky. That's where I might start making moves, but I love this team.
Keep all 3 of those running backs going into the playoffs, Javen.
Yes.
And you're 10-0.
Yes.
Don't break what is.
There's a reason you're 10-0.
Yeah.
I'm not CMC, who you didn't have for the majority of the season. You are good. You're good.
I wouldn't be looking to move any of those running backs. That's for sure.
I know you didn't ask me, but I'll rate this team A+.
A+. Eric says, is it still a start and forget for Hawkinson? Have a concussed Goddard and Dan Arnold is starting to look real tempting. So, Josh, would you still start Hawkinson over Dan Arnold?
For me, it's still a start and forget for TJ Hawkinson. I know it's concerning because Dan Campbell, it was his first week taking over the play calling duties for the Detroit Lions. And look what they played 5 quarters. They played an entire overtime period. And TJ Hawkinson only got 1 target, 0 catches. That's a little concerning. Don't get me wrong. I am nervous, but I'm still starting TJ Hawkinson, especially over Dan Arnold. I like Dan Arnold, but not over TJ Hawkinson.
Yep, I'm fully agreeing with you there. Unruly Drip said CMC playoff schedule is tough. I don't even care. CMC is one of the few players I do not give a shit what his matchup is. He's a plug and play. He's a top tier option, no matter who he's going up against. He breaks defenses.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. Do you agree, Josh?
Just yes. That's my response.
Yeah, there are some players where maybe tough playoff schedule. You're like, oh, I want to get out from under that. CMC is not one of those players.
Not at all.
Justin wants to know, is Devonta Smith a wide receiver 2 rest of season? So, Josh, do you view Devonta Smith in that wide receiver 2 category rest of season?
No, he's a wide receiver 3. He's not wide receiver 2. He doesn't sneak up quite that far yet. There's a bit too many wide receivers that I'm still starting ahead of him, but he's getting very close. 1 or 2 more weeks like this, and yeah, he falls right into that category. Simon, let me ask you, would you rather have Devonta Smith or DJ Moore the rest of the season?
It's DJ Moore.
Me too.
It's DJ Moore. I love what Devonta Smith has done the last 2 weeks, but it's still DJ Moore.
Me too, and that's kind of the line we're drawing here a little bit in my mind. So he's close to wide receiver 2, but I'm not putting him into that category yet.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's wide receiver 3 territory, but what I will say is there aren't many wide receiver 3s that I think have the weekly upside that Devonta Smith has. Devonta Smith is one of the wide receiver 3s that I would never be shocked to see finish in the top 10 on any given week. So I do like him as a high upside wide receiver 3 kind of play compared to some other names around him. I'm trying to think who else is around Devonta Smith. Maybe Hunter Renfrow, I don't think has that kind of upside if you plug him in, though I value them similarly in that same wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 tier. Cortland Sutton, how do you view him? Brandon Cooks. What about Brandon Cooks?
Brandon Cooks, that's another line. I know I said
close, right?
They're super close. Those are probably the 2 closest. I think Brandon Cooks is a little bit safer than Devonta Smith still.
Yeah. Forget Jonah says QB Fields, RBs, Barkley, Carter, Mitchell, Booker, wide receivers, Evans, Waddle, Devonta Smith, Odell, tight end Kittle need to win in order to make a playoff push. Any suggested moves?
Yeah, you have a good team.
I think maybe a move I would make. We were just talking about Devonta Smith. See if you could package Devonta Smith and maybe one of these running backs, either Michael Carter or Elijah Mitchell, to upgrade at the running back position. Coming off a big week from Devonta Smith, I think you could upgrade your RB2 and still be fine at wide receiver. Not great, but fine. How do you feel, Josh?
Well, I'm just looking at the wide receivers. Mike Evans is an every week start for you, and Devonta Smith and Waddle, you're kind of going back and forth between. So I don't know. I think you're locked and loaded. I think you're good to go. The most nervous I'm about any position here is Justin Fields, actually, but he does have that upside. He's got that rushing floor that we hope he can add on to as we go along through the season. So I'm fine with Justin Fields as your starting quarterback, but I bet there are better weekly streamers. Let's just put it that way.
That's a great point, Josh. Don't lock into Fields rest of the season. He's a guy maybe you can play matchups with, but there's got to be some guys on the waiver wire, maybe a Derek Carr that you can throw in there.
Question, Cam Newton or Justin Fields? Who would you rather have?
Cam Newton.
Me too.
I think the upside is much higher I think Cam Newton has a top 12 quarterback upside rest of season. I've got him right in that range. I would definitely rather Cam Newton.
So maybe Cam Newton's a pickup over Justin Fields for this.
Maybe he is. Go get Cam Newton off the waiver wire. Also, Matt saying Bills, Saints, and Bucks are the Carolina playoff schedule. It shouldn't matter for CMC, but who's to say, as that's the three
Bills,
worst
Saints, and Bucks.
possible
That is ugly, though. That, like, those are like three matchups that do stand out to you that you're like, when your running back's playing up against them. Still doesn't matter. It's CMC. I'm not worried.
Gallup, Moore, or Waddle. Also, is AB going to come back? So, Josh, any news on Antonio Brown?
We haven't received any recent news on Antonio Brown. I don't expect him to play again this week. I still think it could be a couple weeks out.
I agree with you there. But then Gallup, Moore, or Waddle. Which of these players are you picking
Waddle.
this week?
It's an easy Waddle for me.
Waddle over Moore for you?
Oh, is that DJ Moore? I was thinking Rondale for some reason at first.
I'm assuming DJ. That would make sense in the scope of this question based on how they've been playing this year, right?
Sure. I think Rondale Moore is closer to Gallup, and I think DJ Moore is closer to Waddle. So,
yep.
But yeah. So if it's DJ Moore, hell, you know what? I'm starting Waddle over DJ Moore.
I'm starting DJ Moore still, but they are like back to back. Waddle has the better matchup, but as we've talked about, the Dolphins may not need to throw much against the Jets to win that game. Yeah. So we'll see how that actually pans out. But I'll go DJ Moore here.
Yeah.
Coach Craig also said Davis also got benched for Gallman. It was a very weird game script, though, being down that big.
Technically, Matt Ryan got benched, too. And
Matt Ryan did get
I believe Gallman only got like a few carries in the first half. I mean, he got a few. That's more than he got previous in the season. It's a coin flip to see who's more valuable. That's why I really don't want to start either. Emergency starts.
F wants to know, will Aaron Jones be good for the playoffs? So after he comes back from injury, are you expecting good performances from Aaron Jones?
So you're asking, will Aaron Jones be good for the playoffs? Yeah. I expect him to be healthy and playing for the Packers for the fantasy playoffs. Now, will he be good? Yes. Will he be great? Will he be elite? Will he be that top tier running back that you were looking for when you drafted him? No, I don't think so. AJ Dillon is a part of the Packers game plan. So Aaron Jones will be a starter for your fantasy team, but you got to limit your expectations. He's not going to be a top 5 guy by any means.
No, I think I'm agreeing with you. It's a little deceiving. He is the 6th overall running back on the season, but most of the guys that are behind him have only played 9 games. Aaron Jones has played 10, but he did get injured. In a points per game, let me see, 1, 2, 13. He's the 13th running back on the season on a points per game basis. And you know what? That's about where I would project him in the playoffs, probably. Yes. A high-end RB2, back-end RB1. And you know what? You're going to be happy with that. AJ Dillon does have a role on this offense.
So a locked and loaded starter for your playoffs, but not an elite guy.
I was viewing him as a top 5 guy going into the season. He was a top 5 running back for me, and he's not that guy. JR said, different guillotine league. We got the guillotine league king here. Need to let someone go to bid on a starting QB this week. So he needs to let one of these guys go. Henderson, Elijah Mitchell, David Montgomery, Myles Gaskin, then Brandon Cooks, Mike Williams, TJ Hawkinson.
It's got to be Myles Gaskin.
That's a juicy matchup for him this week, though. But I think you're right.
But yeah, look at his other 3 running backs. I mean, Elijah Mitchell has the broken finger that was just announced, but if he's starting, I'll still play Mitchell over Myles Gaskin this week. Even though I like Gaskin.
Is there a world where it's Hawk because he put him up here, and so I'm guessing he's got a different, better tight end than TJ Hawkinson, says he's deep. Is there any world where you don't want to roster 2 tight ends?
The only world we're talking about is if that other tight end is one of the top 6 guys.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If Hawk's on
Kyle
this
Pitts,
list, if he has Kyle Pitts, Travis Kelce, then I think you got to consider TJ Hawkinson in a guillotine league because he's doing nothing to help you win if you've got Kelce or Waller in there. It's just some depth. But yeah, it would be Hawk or Gaskin for me. That hurts. And just so we're clear, everyone, that is only because this is a guillotine league format. I mean, he has to drop a player and he needs to win each and every week.
Yes.
So Hawk is in consideration there. Javen says it is a 2 wide receiver league. I also have Montgomery. Do I move Montgomery and Terry or CD in a package for a wide receiver? If I do package them, then what wide receiver am I looking for? So let's take a look at this team again. Let me pull it back up. This was the really good team. So CMC, Eckler, Mixon, and Montgomery. I would not be trying to package with CD or Terry because those are guys you want to keep in your starting lineup. If anything, I would try to package Montgomery with Bateman and see if you can get a slight upgrade to Bateman, go from Bateman to a DJ Moore, a name we were just talking about. Maybe you could do
Monty
that
on top of those running backs.
Yeah, Monty plus Bateman. Maybe you could get a Tyler Lockett or an Adam Thielen to throw in there.
I'm fine packaging Terry with Monty if you're getting one of the top 3 wide receivers.
You got to get Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Devonta Adams.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If you can do that, I'm fine with that, Josh. I agree.
And I don't think that's an unrealistic trade.
If
David Montgomery's looked great.
Terry
McLaurin has been a solid wide receiver. I don't think that's that unrealistic at all.
Yeah. So you could try that. I think you could try that. And if that doesn't work, I would maybe try the
Monty. I'm not going a lower tier than those 3 for Terry McLaurin and David Montgomery though.
F wants to know, should I trade Aaron Jones and Deontay Johnson for Brandon Cooks and David Montgomery? No, absolutely not. I'd
rather have Aaron Jones, even with the injury, than David. Well, I mean, they're close with the injury now, but I'd rather have Deontay Johnson over Brandon Cooks
by a mile. Yeah. I would not do that at all.
If you absolutely need a win, if you aren't going to get into the playoffs, if you don't win the next couple of weeks, this is a move you might have to make.
You could probably get more still. Like, know what I mean? I think you could get more. You could probably do Aaron Jones for David Montgomery straight up there and not have to downgrade.
Exactly. That's right, Simon.
I wouldn't do this one. Like, if you need a win this week, the value's not there for Aaron Jones for David Montgomery, but you could make that move and buy your win
with the injury. I think they're relatively similar value, especially since it seems like Chicago wants to give David Montgomery all the work, and obviously Green Bay is not doing that with Aaron Jones.
Justin wants to know, is Devonta a RB2 plug-in because I got AJ Dillon bye soon? He's playing KC week 13. Yeah. So the upside's capped because he's splitting carries with Melvin Gordon, and I don't see that changing, but he's getting production. Denver likes running the ball. Josh, what do you think here?
I like Javonte Williams after his bye. Again, we saw it last year. We see it every year where rookie running backs, after the team's buys, they get more involved in the game plan. We saw it last year with J.K. Dobbins. We saw it last year with Cam Akers. Again, Melvin Gordon has looked really good, but I could see it being a little bit more leaning towards Javonte, where he's getting maybe 65% of the workload. And if that's the case, he is going to be a running back 2 every week.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Jason says, time to cut Cortland Sutton and take a shot on Gallup, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, or even, dare I say it, Robbie Anderson. 10-team full PR. I have A.J. Brown, DJ Moore, Bateman, Keenan, and Van Jefferson. So, first question, Josh, out of those receivers, would you be dropping Cortland Sutton? Or would you drop Bateman or Van Jefferson over him?
No, I'm not dropping Cortland Sutton for any of these guys still. Gallup, he's at best the 3rd option on his team in the receiving game.
At best.
Corey Davis, I don't trust the offense. Elijah Moore, same thing. Robbie Anderson, Cam Newton's not going to do that much for his value. I still rather have Cortland Sutton. So, no.
Would you drop Van Jefferson for any of those guys?
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Josh. I wouldn't be making any of those moves. I know it's been rough sledding for Cortland Sutton since Jerry Jeudy got back, but I still like his upside better than any of the guys you mentioned there. And then Van Jefferson, he's getting the freaking targets. I want to keep him on the end of my bench to see what happens, especially with the Rams losing 2 games in a row going into this bye week. They're going to have to make some adjustments offensively, and I want to see how that involves Van Jefferson. Is he more involved, less involved after they do something? Because they got to do something, right? They got to fix something offensively. It's not working.
Yeah, they will.
I fully trust they will. I still view the Rams as a Super Bowl bound team in my eyes. I know that was a rough loss, but they've got too much talent and a good coach not to make a run this postseason. Justin said, do I start Cam over Ryan Tannehill this week? I'm starting Tannehill. I get the urge. I get it, Justin.
Cam has more upside.
I don't think it's ludicrous. I think it is well within the range of outcomes that Cam finishes over him. I'm not doing it the first full game back for Cam Newton. I just can't do it.
Ryan Tannehill every week so far this season has gotten between 14 and 23 fantasy points. He's the epitome of consistency, so he's a very safe play. Cam, like I said, he has more upside. So if you feel like you need more upside in your lineup, you're playing against the best team in your league this week, maybe I would roll with Cam. I could absolutely see him outscoring Ryan Tannehill, but Tannehill's just so safe.
Unruly Drip. Remember, this is the team with Mixon, Henderson, CEH, and David Montgomery, I believe was the other one. If I don't accept the trade for Swift and Johnson, would you guys trade Henderson for Diggs or just stick it out? So let me pull the other team back up so I can remember what it was.
Henderson.
His running backs are Mixon, Henderson, and CEH and CMC. So that would leave him with CMC, Mixon, and CEH. And then wide receivers are A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Amari Cooper, and T. Higgins. So that would make his team CMC, Mixon as the starting backs. And then I was assuming Henderson's probably in your flex most weeks right now. So it would replace Henderson in the flex with likely Amari Cooper, slide Diggs in at wide receiver 3. This one's close. This is an interesting one. Josh, what would you do here?
I think Diggs is going to score more fantasy points over the remainder of the season than Darrell Henderson. But there's this running back scarcity issue that comes into play, right? Where if you suffer an injury at running back, though, right? If he has an injury at running back, there's going to be issues. Was there a 4th running back on this team?
CEH, Henderson, Mixon, and CMC. So CMC is the 4th back.
Yeah, I'll do the trade. I'll do the trade. With this team, again, I would be worried about just not having enough running back depth, but it seems like he got the depth, and Diggs, I think, is going to score more fantasy points.
You know what? I've said it before. You need some luck to win a fantasy championship. Fantasy championships are not just straight skill. There is some luck involved, and part of that luck is injuries. And sometimes you got to take that risk and trade away some of your depth to upgrade your starting lineup. And if injuries happen, then you're probably out of it. You might not win, but this gives you a good shot if your team stays healthy. I'm with you, Josh. I'm making the trade.
I would not be making the trade if Henderson was a starting running back. Let's just put it that way, though, you know.
Kyle has a couple drops he's wanting to know about. I'm dropping Freeman for Stevenson, Emmanuel Sanders for Elijah Moore, and Van Jefferson for Singletary. Is that okay in redraft? So let's start with the first one. Would you drop Devonta Freeman for Rhamondre Stevenson?
That's completely fine.
Yep, fine with me as well. Freeman's upside is limited, but has probably safer volume going forward. Yes. Stevenson has crazy upside, but the floor is non-existent. Emmanuel Sanders for Elijah Moore.
I'd rather have Emmanuel Sanders. But
I would as well. It's fine, but I would rather have Emmanuel Sanders than Van Jefferson for Singletary. Give me Van Jefferson.
Again, there's the positional scarcity thing where if Van Jefferson is not in your lineup, if he's your 5th wide receiver, you only start 2 wide receivers. I can see you making a move like this because, again, if something happened to Moss, I do think Singletary is a top 24 running back the rest of the season. So there's more upside with Singletary, I guess. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah. So I would do the first one. I wouldn't do the second 2. Josh, sounds like you would do the first and the third, but not the second. Or you're fine
I would
with
do the first. I would do the first. I am fine with the third. I wouldn't do the second.
There you go. Hope that was helpful, Kyle. Also, JR, earlier on the question he asked, the one where I said maybe Hawk, he's got Pitts and Waller on that team.
Oh, yeah, it's
Hawkinson. It's Hawkinson, JR. It is Hawk. That is, you are loaded at tight end.
Yeah.
And someone will pick him up, but I think that's probably the winning move for you on that team. Evan said, hey, do you know what running back I can get for Montgomery, Carson, and Lockett? So maybe a 3-for-1 trade on this one.
It depends how like someone feels about Carson.
And the package gets devalued the more players you add to it. Know what I mean? Because the other person does have to make room on their roster.
These are assets, though. These are players that should be on fantasy rosters. So it's not like you're just throwing in trash to try to make it look better. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Simon. They're gonna have to drop someone or two players if you're just getting one running back. But I'm aiming high. I would want to get Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon's kind of the line. Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, Austin Eckler. You're probably not going to get much higher than that, but would
you do it for Leonard Fournette? Do you view that as enough of an upgrade? No,
Monty and Leonard Fournette are too close.
Okay, that's what I was thinking as well. Wanted to see where that line was.
How about Nick Chubb?
I would. That's kind of the line. I would do it for Nick Chubb. I think that's probably the back I would do it for.
I mean, is Lockett a starter? If he's not, then I'll do it for Nick Chubb.
There you go. That's fair. Anunas is Joe Burrow or Cam Newton this week. Joe Burrow. I am excited for Cam rest of season, but Joe Burrow is a good starter. We were just asked Tanny or Cam. And I would start Tannehill over Burrow.
And we were kind of like on the fence a little bit though, but it's Joe Burrow.
Let's see. Oh, sorry. I said I would start Tannehill over Burrow, but I take that back. I would start Burrow over Tannehill. That's why on that one.
Gotcha.
I misspoke there. Obesity Speaks is 10-man full PPR. I have Fournette, Eckler, and A.J. Dillon at running back, DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen at wide receiver. It's a 2 RB, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. Which one do I bench? Opponent's QB is Russell Wilson.
Oh, no. This is crazy, actually. This is crazy. This is a crazy
So he needs
question.
to bench one at each position. So let's start with the running backs. Fournette, Eckler,
I feel like we're
A.J.
going to be on
Dillon.
different sides of this.
I'm benching Fournette. I'm starting Eckler and AJ Dillon. And I think you're going to bench AJ Dillon, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, but we agree on Eckler. Eckler's the must start here. Josh would start Fournette. And I'm fairly confident in what AJ Dillon's going to do here. He is not Derrick Henry, but I think he's a similar kind of back where the more volume he gets, the more efficient he's going to get. He's going to be a better kind of runner. He's that power runner. So I know we're concerned about him getting the full workload. This is one of the few backups in the league where I am less concerned knowing that they're going to get a full workload. And so I have confidence in AJ Dillon, but Fournette's been solid. Is it more questions about AJ Dillon as to why you would start Fournette, or is it more what Fournette's done this year so far?
Okay. So it's really like all 6 of these guys together. It's just like, which one are we benching really this question? So we're starting the wide receivers. Is that just kind of, we're on the same page there, I guess? Like DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Keenan Allen, they're starting, right? It's going to be 2 wide receivers, and one of the wide receivers is going to be in the flex.
Yeah. I'm going all 3 wide receivers.
So I'm 100% like the conversation is between Fournette and AJ Dillon. This entire conversation for me. I just have a little bit more faith in Fournette. We've seen what he's done over the course of the season. He's getting more and more involved in the passing game. So it's a full point PPR. I trust Leonard Fournette more. AJ Dillon has a little bit more upside though.
I get it. Going with the safety. I have that trust in AJ Dillon though, and I think that's the difference. But we agree on everything else. That line is between Dillon and Fournette, and I think that's the decision you're making. Pick whoever wins at rock, paper, scissors, and go with that. Are you ready, Justin? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. We'll take it. It's a tie. It's still a tie.
They're going to score the exact same amount of points.
They're going to tie. It doesn't matter what your decision is here. JXC, guys, we are coming up on the end as well. We've got about 10 minutes left, so I just want to remind everyone we're going to run through as many of these as possible at the end.
Let's hit them.
QB, Dak, and Hurts. Running backs, Cook, Montgomery, CEH. Wide receivers, Allen, Moore, Cooks, Mooney, and Kirk. Tight ends, Kittle, Henry, Pat, Freiermuth.
I got it. Trade these tight ends. Like you got Kittle, he's locked and loaded. Yeah. You don't need these quarterbacks and tight ends. Like
they're not going to help
Kittle's
you win.
Locked and loaded. Dak for me would be the one locked and loaded. So if you could package Hurts and Henry and Freiermuth, which no one's going to want to take, but again, try to maneuver, see who needs a quarterback out there, see who needs a tight end out there, and attack those teams, and then try to upgrade maybe that.
Your RB2 and wide receiver 3 are both very upgradable.
Yes, exactly. Both those positions, that's where I would be going after. So maybe package Jalen Hurts, David Montgomery, and Hunter Henry if they want Hunter Henry, maybe for an upgrade at the running back position.
Yep, full agree. Alex R said Antonio Brown and Christian Kirk, and I get Keenan Allen. Yes or no? Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
I would do that in a heartbeat. That is a great move for you.
Hurry up.
Justin said, do I start Barkley or Josh Jacobs? Is Barkley going to play?
That's a good question. I fully expect I don't fully expect Barkley to play, but I do expect him to play, and I'll go with Barkley. For the upside.
Yeah, I'll go with Barkley for the upside as well. But yeah, that's a tough one. But if Barkley's playing, I'm starting him.
Josh Jacobs just hasn't really shown a lot of upside so far this year. He's shown a little bit of a floor, but we just saw one of his worst weeks of the season just this past week. So he's a game script running back.
Eric says full PPR, drop Adrian Peterson for Deontay Foreman. Would you do that, Josh?
I would
as well. And then pick up Murray now that Bell is gone. So you're the Ravens fan. How do you feel about that one?
Yeah. Latavius Murray was getting the most carries for the Ravens before he got injured. And while I think he looked a little bit like a plotter, he didn't look like he had that much left. He probably will go back to getting the most carries. So yeah, you can pick him up. I wouldn't expect a ton though.
Yep. I agree with you there. And then what about Moss? Is he droppable?
I'd rather have Moss than Murray.
Me too.
So,
I think
whatever that says.
I mean, Moss, it's gross, but running back is gross outside of some of the top guys. So there's still value to be had for Moss. I try not to drop him. Midnight said currently 5-5, sixth place in a 14-man league. Need a QB tight end upgrade. QB Carr. First of all, before I read any farther, I don't think you need a QB upgrade. Carr has a great rest of season schedule at the quarterback. I think you're totally fine rolling with Carr. And then at tight end, he's got Ertz and Freiermuth. I think you're fine with Freiermuth the rest of the season. Yeah, you could upgrade. So let's look at the rest of this roster and see any moves he could make. Eckler, Freeman, Gaskin, Robinson, Wilson Jr., CEH. I'm not seeing too much value at the running back position that you're going to be trading away to upgrade one of those positions. And then wide receiver, Devonta Adams, Keenan Allen, Devonta Smith, and D-Jax.
The only thing that's really standing out to me is okay, if you can pair Devonta Freeman with either Ertz or Freiermuth, either one, and get one of the top 6 tight ends, if you can get TJ Hawkinson, I would do that trade.
It's a great move. Yeah, I think that's great. Try to pair Freeman with Ertz and upgrade to Hawk. That's a move you can make, or capitalize on the Muth take. That was a great call there, Josh. A package to upgrade at tight end, including.
But otherwise, this is a good team. And the quarterback and tight end position, when it comes down to it, if you're streaming, you're streaming. As long as you have a strong team at the running back and wide receiver position like you do, you can be very successful. So I'm not too worried.
Oil said Kareem or Saquon. I don't think Kareem's playing this week. We've gotten a couple questions. I think one of the apps has him listed with potential points. It's Saquon. And even if Kareem was playing this week, it's still Saquon.
And if it's rest of the season question, it's still Saquon.
Yep. Justin said, do I go Gano or Bullock? I need a kicker. I don't know. Josh, any strong opinion on this one? I don't know. Gano. Josh saying Gano here. Carlos says, any moves for the playoffs? Full PPR, QB Dak and Cam, running back CMC, Najee, Connor, Dillon, wide receiver Jamar, DK, Claypool, Sanders, Bateman, tight end Goddard, and Muth. Ooh, that's a great freaking team. Maybe if Cam puts together a really good game this week, try to trade him, see if you can get some. But I don't even know what you're trying to upgrade. You're fine.
I mean, your running back is so strong that you could maybe consider trading because you're going for the playoffs. James Conner and AJ Dillon are going to both lose value once you get to the fantasy playoffs. So if you can trade one of them and upgrade at any position, package them together, package one of them with one of these wide receivers, get a better wide receiver. Yeah, whatever. I'm about that if you're just looking for the playoffs at this point.
Would you trade AJ Dillon straight up for? Would you trade AJ Dillon and James Conner for Aaron Jones?
If you're only worried about the playoffs, sure. But that's a lot of value.
That's a lot of value. I don't think you would need to do that. I was just curious with those two guys that are going to be losing value rest of season. Let's see. Bam said trade deadline this week, and I still have Fant, Knox, and Gesicki, and I can't figure out a trade to get rid of one of these guys. Yeah, it is hard to trade tight ends that aren't in that top 6. It's going to be difficult if it's not in a package. Maybe look for the
They're
Goddard.
All so similar too.
The Goddard manager, maybe peek over there, see if they're looking for a fill-in this week and package one of these with somebody, but that one is tough. Donnie says, hey guys, do I pick up Mike Davis or Gallman Jr.? I'd be trying not to I'm not excited to start either, Donnie. Even if Cordero Patterson is out, I don't expect much from this Falcons running game or offense in general. I would prefer Gallman.
Gallman has more upside. So if that's what you're looking for, if you're just like, if you don't need to start one of them this week, then Gallman's probably the pickup because he has more upside.
Here's Bam's team trying to put together a package to get rid of one of these tight ends. Let's see a player in here that you might be able to capitalize on. Whew. That is a tough one. Josh, are you seeing anything jump out?
I mean, I would love to get out from underneath Chris Carson personally. So if someone's like, oh, he's coming back, he's going to be Chris Carson of old, which I don't really expect. Maybe package Chris Carson with one of the tight ends or two of the tight ends and get an upgrade there.
Yeah, that one is tough. I'm not seeing too many areas where like you have crazy depth to go out and trade some of that away without knowing what you'd be getting back. Jason says tight ends currently rostering Knox and Goddard. With Goddard concussed, do I cut either to pick up Dan Arnold for this week and for rest of season? So, and also he said Hunter Henry is also available. So what he's basically asking is, would you start Knox or Hunter Henry or Dan Arnold?
Well, it's not that simple because over the course of the season, I personally love Knox's upside. It's just like, when is he fully implemented in this offense? Personally, if it was me, Jason, I would just roll with Knox because he has more upside than the other tight ends you're speaking about here. Dan Arnold is absolutely the safest, and he's a good tight end. So I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to drop Knox for Dan Arnold.
And then I would go Knox as well. I would just keep rolling with Knox. We saw what he's capable of. I know it was a disappointing week one back from that injury, but he was still running routes. It wasn't like he was just forgotten about. So I'd go there. And Hunter Henry, interesting option. He scares
the crap out of me.
It's touchdowns.
He needs a touchdown. If he doesn't get a touchdown, which he's not going to get every week, he needs a touchdown. The most catches he's gotten, well, he did get 6 catches, but after 5, 4, 3. I mean, he's averaging probably like 3 catches a game, and that's not a recipe for success. But he's getting the touchdown, so
consistent.
But you're gonna be so disappointed if he doesn't get a touchdown.
And Sundance asking, did I miss Hunter v. Knox? We were talking about it right now. Matt McCarthy disagreeing with us, saying Hunter Henry top 5 rest of season. And Matt knows his stuff, so I would listen to that a bit. But I'm going Knox. I want the stability, and what I think Knox's role in this offense is a little bit more stable whenever he's fully healthy than Hunter Henry's is. Hunter Henry's touchdown or bust, like Josh said.
It's the high-powered offense with the Bills too, you know.
Guys, we're going to answer a couple more questions in here. Kaysen said, this guy keeps offering me Keenan Allen for players, so I offered him Emmanuel Sanders in the Bucs defense. You think he will take it? No.
You can cross your fingers, but no. Keenan Allen, I want him on my fantasy team. So, I don't know.
Kaysen says, I'm playing against Lamar, JT, Leonard Fournette, Diggs, Moore, Gesicki, and James Robinson. Should I be worried about all of them? Yeah, there's a lot of good players on that team. Lamar's great, JT's great, Leonard Fournette's been great, Diggs is great, James Robinson's great.
You got this though.
I don't know your team, Kaysen, so I don't know how much you should be worrying. But yeah, that guy's got a pretty good team over there.
Yeah, no problem. Also,
Jeezy said, I traded Gibson and Renfro for Chase. W.
Win. Yes.
Yeah. Yeehaw for Texas. And then he sent J-Rob for Chase in another league. Hopefully he takes. Yeah, I think that's fair value. That's
I like the first trade a little better, but
Carlos said, I'm thinking of trading AJ Dillon to the Jones owner. They have Devonta Freeman and JD McKissick. Thoughts? I want to know what you're getting back, but that sounds like someone who would desperately want to be trading for AJ Dillon. So I think that's a good move, but make sure you're not just selling.
If you have a great record, if you're locked into the playoffs, I think AJ Dillon's probably a good sell.
Yep, makes sense. Justin said, Gallup, Tony, Mooney, rank the 3 rest of season. Whew. Josh, I'm coming to you first, but don't feel pressured to have an answer right away. Where are you going here?
I'll go Tony, Mooney, Gallup.
And I'll go Gallup, Tony, Mooney. But if you ask me which one I want on my team the most, it's probably Tony, even though
that's actually how I answered it. It's just like, I feel like Tony just has by far the most upside.
Yeah, 100%.
Mooney seems like the safest bet, which sounds weird. And Gallup, I don't know. I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm not too excited about any of these guys, but I agree with Josh. Tony has the most upside out of these 3. Guys, that is going to be it for Fantasy Football Office Hours today. Thank you so much for coming in and asking all your questions. We got some great ones today. A reminder before we hop off, if you haven't done so already, hit the like button on the stream and subscribe to our channel at Front Yard Fantasy. We are here every Tuesday and Thursday at 4:15 answering your questions, but we are also live Monday through Friday, every single day at 3 p.m. Eastern time for the Fantasy Football Game Show. So come tune into those, and then afterwards on Tuesdays and Thursdays, hop over here to have your questions answered. Josh, we're actually going to hit one more right before we jump off. Bam says,
fine with me.
Out of those 3 tight ends, which would be best in a trade? So I believe it was Knox, Fant, it was Fant, Gesicki, and I can't remember and Knox. Yeah.
Knox, yeah. Which one would be best to trade away? So it's
only this week is the problem, because I think this week is his trade deadline. So you can't say wait for a big game from one of them. So who has the most value out of those 3 tight ends?
Probably Fant, huh? In my mind.
Yeah. Gesicki putting up that goose egg really, really hurts you, man, if you're trying to trade him away. Still. Gesicki would have been my answer, but I don't know what public perception is right now.
I think Fant might have the most perceived value, and he's probably the one I want to get rid of the most. So Fant would be my answer.
Also, JR, thank you, my man, said, I love office hours. And Carlos said, you guys are great. Thank you. Much love. Anytime. And Jeezy, I'm so sorry. I had Cup and Ramsey last night, lost by 0.16. Fantasy football's a bitch, ain't it? But I love fantasy. But, man, it is tough sometimes.
I know.
Guys, that is it for us today. We will be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time playing some more games right here on our YouTube channel. So make sure to tune in. Until then, we'll see you later, everyone. Happy office hours.
Trading makes fantasy fun. Let's go.